now tune in to Kons Podcast.
Beat collectors.
Netflix have suffered took an L over $25 billion in revenue of subscribers. It seemed like overnight after Elon Musk said started a cancel Netflix. Diddy got the gavel dropped on him, got 4 years. You know what I'm saying? He got the gavel dropped on him on Friday. You know what I mean? Despite all the acts of everybody trying to show the judge how much of a good Trey, you know what I'm saying? Trey was the black person who was found hung at Delta University out in Mississippi. And the police tried to tell us that it was no foul play. Kyren, Lacy, you know what I'm saying? Another black man treated unfairly out here in America. You know what I mean? Kyren Lacy back in April was involved in a false report, from what we know now is a false report of a hit to homosexuality scenes in every single show that I watch on TV. If I'm watching TV, you know what I'm saying? It's a 99.9% chance. And as a black man, you know what I'm saying? We're not going to go and hang ourselves from a tree. We're just not going to do that as black people. It's just not in us. It's not in our DNA. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, what's happening? What is going on? You know what I'm saying? It is Kons Podcast, you know what I mean, on this fine Tuesday. You know what I mean? It's Tuesday, October 7th. It is 1:15 in the afternoon. You know what I'm saying? A cool day today. Cool day to go out for a walk. Take your dog for a walk. Take your animal for a walk. Take your kids for a walk or something. You know what I'm saying? Go get some sunlight. It's definitely shining outside, you know what I'm saying? But it ain't too hot, though. It ain't too cold either. It's fair. You know what I mean? Cool 80 degrees out here. You know what I'm saying? I'm just glad the sun is gone and we're not spending our days in 125 degree weather. You know what I mean? But chill though, you know what I'm saying? Welcome in. Welcome in episode 312. You know what I'm saying? Episode 312. I had a bunch of mishaps yesterday. I had filmed this episode yesterday, you know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, I don't know, it wouldn't write. It wouldn't export the file. Kept telling me it was failing. Kept telling me, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be, it just wasn't working out, and I didn't get to put it out. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to be take 2 today. You know what I mean? Take 2 of yesterday's episode. You know what I mean? So this is what I had for you for Monday. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, it wasn't working out for me for it to come out yesterday. So it's going to be out today. On this fine Tuesday, you know what I'm saying? Titty Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, whatever it is that you want to call this Tuesday. You know what I mean? It's a Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? This is your first time in. This is where we do the headlines, do the news. This is where we go over what's been happening. Whatever headline doesn't hit you in your face whenever you logged on to the internet today. You know what I'm saying? Whether your homepage was MSNBC News, Yahoo News, Hip Hop DX, you know what I'm saying? Headline news, whatever the case may be, whatever your homepage is, wherever you get your news sources, I'm probably touching on one of them headlines that you didn't read and came across right here on Kons Podcast. You know what I mean? So go on and hit that subscribe button. Tell your people about it. Hit the share button. Tell everybody about it. You know what I'm saying? Let me keep you updated on this wicked world. You know what I mean? But yeah, though, you know what I'm saying? No need to go into no recap. Like I said, this is take 2, so, you know what I'm saying? Ain't gonna be too identical of yesterday, you know what I'm saying? But ain't no need to go into recap, you know what I mean? Yesterday, of episode 311, you know what I'm saying? If y'all missed out on that, it is definitely up on the video section of the channel, you know what I'm saying? If you wanted to check out episode 311, you feel me? But if you miss it, I'll just let you know that Cardi B and Nicki Minaj, you know what I'm saying? I talked about that little beef that they had on Twitter, funking. You know what I mean? I let you know that Diddy been denied. He was trying to get acquitted and trying for a new trial. Judge denied him and all that. Talked about Young Thug and who his top 5 albums is. He also said a little something on the Kendrick and Drake beef, you know what I'm saying? And I updated you again on Diddy's trial, you know what I'm saying, at that time. That's what I talked about in episode 311 in case you missed it, you know what I mean? Today I got some topics for you, you know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about how Netflix has took a loss over $25 billion making based off their agenda of pushing homosexuality on children. You know what I'm saying? Also, I'm going to let you know we're going to talk about how Diddy got the gavel dropped on him for 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Also, I'm going to touch on Trey Reed. You know what I'm saying? Colin Kaepernick had funded another separate individual autopsy, and some truth that came out. We're going to touch on that. And also, we're going to touch on Kyren Lacy, who was tried falsely. He ended up unaliving himself after running from the police after these charges was put on him that he was falsely accused of. You know what I'm saying? The evidence came out to prove so. But that's what we're going to be touching on today for episode 312. You know what I'm saying? So without no more chit chat or banter, you know what I mean? We're going to jump right into these topics. You know what I'm saying? And then after this, we're going to go into the final and closing thoughts of what I thought and felt on each topic. You know what I mean? So first up, you know what I'm saying? Netflix have suffered took an L over $25 billion in revenue of subscribers. It seemed like overnight after Elon Musk said started a cancel Netflix movement after a cartoon came out called Paranormal Park. It's about a trans kid who runs into his homophobic grandma and escapes to a portal to hell through a job that he got at a haunted house where he finds a community that accepts him. And this is a community full of devils, demons, and a bunch of other evil looking characters. And the next little clips that you're going to see is just people talking about how Elon Musk had put light on this, and also how a lot of parents is mad at Netflix, and a lot of them seemingly went and canceled their account due to the agenda that Elon Musk shone light on of them pushing homosexuality on children in children's programs on their streaming platform. Check these clips out.
Has canceled his Netflix account amid a right-wing backlash to a trans-inclusive show that was canceled more than 2 years ago. The uproar is directed at Dead End Paranormal Park, a trans-inclusive Netflix animation, and its creator Hamish Steele, after an unverified screenshot went viral, allegedly showing Steele responding to UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's statement on the death of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. The post attributed to Steele read, "You sympathy for any of the families being slaughtered by your weapons, but a random Nazi gets shot and it's a public statement. This has sparked outrage, with Musk announcing on X that he had canceled his Netflix subscription and also commented, 'This is not okay,' while sharing a clip from the show.
I'm trans, Norma, and everyone at school knows, and everyone at home knows."
Steele, who has faced a wave of trolling and harassment, denied celebrating Kirk's death on Blue Sky, adding, "I have mostly been very okay today and found it all quite funny. But the extremely nasty, weird homophobic and anti-Semitic emails have started rolling in, and it is getting a little scary." Dead End Paranormal Park, which follows a gay trans protagonist, was canceled by Netflix in January 2023. At the time, Steele expressed disappointment, writing that the powers that be don't want anymore, despite plans to give the characters a proper
It's over for Netflix. Look at this right here. In the span of 36 hours, Netflix lost $15 billion in market cap. This after parents across the country have been canceling their Netflix subscriptions left and right because Netflix is trying to indoctrinate our children. They're trying to go after them and push their woke ideologies with crap like this.
It's not the park. It's me. I'm trans, Norma. And everyone at school knows, and everyone at home knows.
And it's not just that show, it's many other shows on Netflix for kids. You got this show right here with the two broads kissing. I believe that's like a Jurassic World. They even got the little elephant over here talking about how he's non-binary. All I'm saying is, why have this type of content in children's shows unless you are purposely trying to indoctrinate them into your world view? As you see, back when I was a kid, there was none of this woke crap in children's programming. Quite the opposite. You had vegetables over here talking about scripture.
Some parents are canceling their Netflix subscriptions because they feel that they are sneaking in stuff like this into their kids' shows. So this is Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, and in this show, two of the female characters fall in love. And at one point, they even kiss one another. Now, for some children, this could be kind of confusing, so parents don't like it and are now canceling their subscriptions. Now, this show, along with other shows, are pushing different agendas according to parents. Some people feel like some of the other shows that are meant for kids are pushing transgendered agendas on them. That's not the case for Jurassic World, but it is pretty clear that they are integrating attraction to the same sex in their shows. And the fact that these are kids shows, parents have every right to be upset because they're the ones that are supposed to be speaking to their children about this, not Netflix. And some people would argue this is stuff that you'll see in the general public when you go outside, which is true. But the reason people are upset is because it's up to the parents to discuss this with their children, not a streaming service.
You see, you know what I'm saying? That was letting you know Netflix suffered a $25 billion L after Elon Musk shed some light on that cartoon they was pushing homosexuality in children's program. Diddy got the gavel dropped on him, got 4 years. You know what I'm saying? He got the gavel dropped on him on Friday. You know what I mean? Despite all the acts of everybody trying to show the judge how much of a good person he was, they were showing the judge different videos, you know what I'm saying? Videos of him being with his kids, having birthdays with his kids, cutting cake, you know what I'm saying? Blowing out candles with little babies, you know what I'm saying? A whole bunch of little stuff trying to convince the judge that he's a changed person, but the judge wasn't buying none of it. You know what I'm saying? The judge still said, we seen you battle women who loved you. You beat them and so forth. And then he said, we seen you beat on Cassidy after the video came out of them, of that we all seen of you and Cassidy in the corridor, he said. You know what I'm saying? We all seen it happen again. So you was not apologetic. You know what I mean? Said you was not sorry for what you did. You know what I mean? So the judge said he had to be fair to the victims and show, set an example to the victims of the women that you battered. He said, Cassie is always going to be tied to you. You know what I'm saying? Because of this situation. You know what I mean? So the judge dropped the gavel on him, gave him 50 months with the 14 months that he already been in there. Time served. You know what I'm saying? So these next little clips you're about to see is just little clips on this matter. You can definitely go see Condition Lynn. Gonna update you on that, and also a woman that was inside the courtroom gonna update you as she came out after the sentencing with Diddy. Check these clips out.
He was just sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in prison, but with time served, that'll be about 3 years that he will actually spend in prison. And the judge was not playing when he handed down Diddy's sentencing. He said it is clear that there was violence and coercion that he placed upon Cassie Ventura and Jane. And he said the sentencing of time served just wouldn't cut it. History of good work cannot wash away the record in this case. You abused these women. You used that abuse to get your way, free costs and hotel nights. The evidence of abuse is massive. I was sitting right there during the testimony. This was subjugation. That is the reality of what happened. These offenses irreparably harmed 2 women. You plied them with substances. Why did this happen for so long? You had the power and resources to keep it going. You were more than just a John. A significant sentence is required to deter. You say that you're sorry and you won't do it again. After Miss Ventura's civil lawsuit was filed, after the video was public, and the investigation started, you had a brutal hotel night with Jane. Punched her in the head. Jane says you told her, take this pill, go out there, and suck this D. F him. I don't care. Court is not convinced that this would not happen again. The court has considered programs. They are outweighed by the trial record in this case. Exploitation and violence against women must be met with real accountability to promote respect for the law. The court reaches a few conclusions. 135 months would be more than necessary. A sentence over 11 years is not reasonable. Even the probation department recommends a sentence less than half of that. But 14 months time served would not be sufficient. Here the data shows a wide variety of sentences, weighing all relevant factors. The court determines that the sentence is 50 months of incarceration. And 50 months is 4 years and 2 months, so when you add Diddy's time served to that, he will spend about 3 years in jail. And that's as long as he doesn't have any good time that might get him out a little bit earlier. A lot of people are upset with this verdict, but I knew that it was going to fall in range with the probation department's findings. Judges always side with the probation department. And you have to remember, this is still a huge loss to Diddy, who thought that he was walking out today with time served. For someone like Diddy, who is a billionaire, either way, you are not going to want to spend 1 more minute in jail, and he made that very clear today. So even though a lot of people don't feel like justice was met, at the same time, Diddy still having to do 3 years in prison is a big deal. And I think that that's better than Diddy walking out today and getting time served. I'm glad that there is some accountability being held here, and he still does have to do years in prison. It has sure been a journey, guys, covering this whole Diddy trial, but let me tell you, I am so glad that it's over. But also don't forget, this isn't the last that we are going to hear of Diddy, because he still has a ton of civil lawsuits and more were just filed yesterday. So Diddy still has a long way to go. His reputation has been ruined, he has lost everything, and he still has to spend at least 3 more years in jail. He also has a ton of legal expenses that he's going to have to pay as well. But y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
Diddy right in the face right before handing him a 4-year sentence and said, "You will forever be associated with Cassie and Jane. You can't wash them away." This after his attorney spent hours defending his character. Brian Steele said Diddy is a leader, a civil rights leader. Talked about his success and how he's given back to his community. He talked about the charter schools that he started. They also said that he shouldn't be punished for being an addict and that he got addicted to painkillers after getting surgery. They said that everything has been taken away from him, his freedom, his businesses, his reputation destroyed. They even said the money is gone. But they say despite all the bad things he's done, he's still a good man and that he needs help with his anger and drug addiction. So then the defense went back and talked about when the prosecution said that he already has speaking engagements lined up. And they said, no, it's not speaking engagements, it's teaching engagement. In fact, he plans to be a motivational speaker of sorts, going from prison to program to help inspire people and use his own story of hitting rock bottom to show that you can pick yourself back up again. They said it's healing. Now, the prosecutor spoke one last time, saying that Diddy showed us exactly who he was when he didn't know the cameras were rolling in that hotel attack video. And then we heard for the first time from Diddy himself. When it was his turn to talk, he sat in the chair a little bit longer, flipping through the pages of what he wrote down, before he stood up in place and put his hand over his face, moved his hand and then said, "Thank you, Judge, for giving me the opportunity to speak for myself." He said the hardest part about this process was having to stay silent and not express how sorry he is. His voice was shaky and he was on the verge of tears. He offered an apology to Cassie, her family, and to Jane. He was wearing glasses, one of his crew neck sweaters, and he had a full beard. His hair was grown out too, still gray. He kept looking down at his paper and then back up at the judge. Fighting back tears, he said, "I got lost in excess and ego." He said, "I'm humbled and broken to my core. I hate myself right now." And then he turned around to the gallery and his voice gave out when he said, "I'm sorry, Mom. I've failed you as a son." After Diddy was done, the judge called for a break. Now we are already 6.5 hours into this hearing. During the break, you could see that Diddy was antsy because it was time for the judge to sentence him. He was rubbing his face. He kept putting his hands in his face. It was time for the judge to speak, and he reiterated that Diddy was only being sentenced for the Mann Act convictions. But the judge made it clear that he was going to take into consideration everything he heard during the trial. He started off by saying, "Listen, Mr. Combs, I know your accomplishments, that you're self-made, that you're an inspiration to your community. I know about your accomplishments, your struggles, that you're a father, that you're struggling with drug addiction. I understand it all. However," and that's when the judge went off, saying the freak-offs were not just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. He said, "You abused the power and control that you had over women that loved you. That I heard Cassie's testimony. I saw the text, the evidence, the bruises. I know that 2 women contemplated taking their lives because of you. That these are serious offenses and you've done irreparable damage to these women. That despite what the defense says about the prostitution charges, you are no John. You were more." He then said, "I understand multiple people have come to this court today to say you're a changed man." But he said, "Remember when you beat Jane when you were under investigation? And this was after Cassie's lawsuit and after the hotel attack video? You didn't seem remorseful then." He said, "Do you remember when you taunted her while you were beating her and said, 'Is this coercion?' So with that, he said, I want to send a message to victims and abusers that you will be held accountable," and then laid out that he will be sentenced to 50 months in prison. When the judge read the sentence, both Diddy and his family didn't express much emotion. It was a stark contrast to the excitement and the standing ovation that he received when he was acquitted of 3 of the most serious charges he was facing. At one point, when the judge was talking about Cassie's victim impact statement, Diddy just shook his head. The judge then thanked Cassie, saying, "I'm proud of you for coming here and saying what really happened." Leaving off with, "You stood up."
You know what I'm saying? That was just a fellow little update on Diddy and him getting the gavel dropped on him, getting 50 months, 4 years in prison. Yo, excuse me. Let me interrupt this episode. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't hit that subscribe button, now is your time to do that. In the middle of this explosive, dope content that I'm bringing you. You know what I'm saying? Now's your time to hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that like button, comment on whatever you like, whatever you want to comment on. Now's your time to go ahead and do that if you ain't done it already. You know what I'm saying? But definitely hit that subscribe button and definitely tell somebody else to hit that subscribe button too. You know what I'm saying? It's Kons Podcast. Let's get back to the episode. Trey Reed, you know what I'm saying? Trey Reed was the black person who was found hung at Delta University out in Mississippi. And the police tried to tell us that it was no foul play and that he unalived himself. You know what I'm saying? Colin Kaepernick has funded an individual autopsy research on the matter and came to find out that it was not a suicide. He had blunt force trauma to the back of the head and bruises all over his body, like the family initially said. Now, when the first autopsy came out, they said that they didn't see none of that in the examination report. Nobody reported that it was bruises or didn't even say it was blunt trauma to the back of his head. You know what I'm saying? But due to this autopsy that Colin Kaepernick had funded through his little organization that he got, the truth had came out about Trey Reed. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it was bruises all over his body, so he was definitely beaten before they went and hung him at the university. Reportedly, he got into it with some white boys that he was saving his sister from a group of white boys, allegedly, that happened prior to this happening. So we don't know if that's the motive or not. That hasn't necessarily came out, but the autopsy did come out and prove that they have definitely lied to us initially about that situation. So this next little clip you're about to see is just little clips on this matter and people talking about it and how they feel about it on this matter. Check it out.
Kaepernick is funding a second autopsy for a student found hanging from a tree. Delta State University student Trey Reed was found dead, and police ruled it a suicide. But his family has serious doubts, citing conflicting accounts and incomplete information about his death. Now, Kaepernick's Know Your Rights camp is covering the cost for an independent autopsy. The family's attorney says they just want to get to the truth of what really happened.
Important updates to share in the alleged self-unaliving of Trey Reed. Thanks to Colin Kaepernick, we now know that this was not a self-inflicted ending. We have clear evidence of what could very well be a homicide. Trey Reed, a 21-year-old student at Delta State University, Mississippi, was initially found alive by hanging on campus, with authorities quick to rule this as self-inflicted. However, new information has emerged following a second independent autopsy funded by Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights campaign, which suggests that Reed suffered blunt force trauma to the back of his head. That's inconsistent with self-harm by hanging. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump has joined the case to demand a full, transparent reinvestigation into this young man's death, citing broader concerns over similar cases involving black men in the state of Mississippi. More attention needs to be brought to this case. Not enough people know about these updates about the second autopsy, the role that Colin Kaepernick played, or we must demand justice from the state of
I knew you bitches was lying the whole time about Trey Reed. Update, y'all. How that his autopsy report came back? The truth about to come out. Reports are saying that they found blunt force trauma to the back of his head. Not only that, they saying that he was manually strangled. You mean to tell me they beat him, strangled him, and then after he dead, they hang him? Fuck. Now, the day before he lost his life, he said that he was protecting his sister and got into it with 4 white dudes. The sister got into it with these dudes over the shit she was saying about CK. I ain't talking about Calvin Klein. And I'm gonna say if nobody else gonna say it. Lame ass niggas. Fuck y'all mad at us for? Y'all acting like we did this shit. Mind you, this y'all own people. Y'all want us to respect his ass for the disrespectful shit that he done said to us before? I wanna know what's even fucked up that got me even mad. They identified the 4 dudes, right? But are they arrested? Remember, police tried to cover this up. The school tried to cover this up. Not only that, I have people in my comments. I have people in my DMs that I ain't had a facts, and I was assuming that it was a white person. Well, it's out now. So what you bitches gotta say now?
As you seen, you know what I'm saying? You seen that they definitely have lied to us. You feel me? They have lied to us. Colin Kaepernick thankfully put together funded his own little autopsy and seeked answers that was needed. Seek some truth out of the dark. You know what I'm saying? It came to light. Kyren Lacy, you know what I'm saying? Another black man treated unfairly out here in America. You know what I mean? Kyren Lacy back in April was involved in a false report. From what we know now is a false report of a hit and run resulting in the fatality of a man who collided with another vehicle. They tried to say he was due to Kyren Lacy vehicle, which later in video footage we see he was just passing by the accident. He was a few cars behind the whole scene, and they blamed him for everything. So days before we had to come into court, he led the police on a chase and then crashed into a tree. When the police went up to him, they arrived and found him with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. So these next reports is some news reports. I got the news report on the news. The detective that found the details and the footage that proves that Kyren Lacy was innocent. You know what I'm saying? You're going to see these in the next clips. Check these clips out.
Late NFL prospect Kyren Lacy has provided bombshell details in the fatal car crash which occurred before his suicide in April. Lacy, a former LSU wide receiver and NFL hopeful, took his own life after being charged with felony negligent homicide, felony hit and run, and reckless operation of a vehicle after a man died in a December 17th car crash. He was set to be heard by a grand jury less than 2 days after he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Prosecutors claimed that Lacy's alleged reckless driving was the ultimate cause of 78-year-old Herman Hall's death. His lawyer, Matt Ori, has said his client wasn't anywhere close to the crash. Ori also provided video footage of Lacy's lime green Dodge Charger seemingly behind the crash. Police had claimed that Lacy caused a crash when he illegally passed 4 other vehicles. However, Ori's testimony remains the same as he said. The collision that resulted in the death of Mr. Herman was not caused by Mr. Lacy's actions, Ori wrote in a February statement. The accident occurred directly in front of him when a second vehicle in the oncoming lane crossed the center line and collided with Mr. Herman's vehicle. Furthermore, the driver of the vehicle which hit and killed Hall allegedly told police she had been trying to avoid a gold truck, not Lacy's lime green Charger. Ori also took issue with the fact that Louisiana State Police didn't bother to question the passenger riding with Lacy. There was another passenger in Kyren Lacy's car. They knew this. Why would you not want to hear the person with one of the best views of this incident? The video Ori released has led to many users online calling for justice for Kyren Lacy and for the police officers involved with the case to be held accountable.
Lacy's death in April. Ori hasn't stopped trying to exonerate him from allegations he caused a fatal crash in Thibodaux that took the life of 78-year-old Herman Hall.
Was a great man with a loving family.
State police charged the wide receiver with negligent homicide after they say his actions of illegally passing cars caused another car to fatally impact Hall's car as they swerved to avoid Lacy.
I've got everything. I've got every piece of evidence I have viewed. I've examined every piece of evidence.
Ori appeared on a segment on HTV with host Martin Foles to discuss what he found in the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's investigation as compared to the original state police investigation. The conclusion of the DA's report was that Lacy was not responsible for the wreck. Ori also shows surveillance video of the crash.
In the top left of the screen, you're going to see multiple cars just making their way south to Thibodaux, coming from Vacherie. At some point in time, you're going to see the collision, which we're going to know is vehicle number 2 from oncoming traffic colliding with the vehicle of Mr. Hall. You will see another vehicle come to a stop, and then you'll see Kyren Lacy come to a stop.
The video provides key insight that was previously withheld, according to Ori.
At the time of impact, he's 72.6 yards behind the vehicles at the time of impact. Keyword, behind the vehicles. That is not how this story was ever painted. Never.
But perhaps the most concerning of Ori's findings, this interaction recorded on body cam of a state trooper getting a witness statement.
Okay, just make sure you add in there that you had to slam on your brakes and the brakes, like, you had to slam on the brakes to avoid that Charger and the brakes locked up to avoid that Charger. That's.
But then you hear Gold Truck, the witness who's the Gold Truck, what he says. And he says verbatim.
I ain't scared my for nothing. I wasn't even going for it. That lady in the back of me, she didn't saw what was happening. That's how she caused that wreck. She was running in the back of me. She pulled on the other side. And I didn't.
I didn't skid marked or nothing because I wasn't even going that fast. That lady in the back of me, she didn't see what's happening. That's how she caused that wreck. She was going to run into the back of me, and she pulled into the other side.
Both Ori and the district attorney's office say the trooper coerced the witness into blaming Lacy, despite that not being his recollection of events.
As you seen, said that was Kyren Lacy, being proved innocent after he had unalived himself after leading the police on a chase. But they was putting charges on him that wasn't his. Saying that he was a football star at LSU. But that's all the subjects I got for today. That's everything I got for episode 312. Just a quick little recap of what we just went over. Tonight, I'll just let you know, that Netflix takes a $25 billion loss in subscribers seemingly overnight after Elon Musk to a canceled Netflix movement after a cartoon came out and they were pushing the homosexuality agenda onto children. Also let you know that Diddy got 4 years, you know what I'm saying, despite of all the acts and videos that they were showing the judge, trying to convince the judge that he's a better person, but the judge wasn't buying none of it. I'll let you know that Trey Reed, you know what I'm saying, the black person who was found hung at Delta University, and they tried to tell us it was a suicide. A black man hung himself. Thanks to Colin Kaepernick, you know what I'm saying, put together an autopsy report of his own. And we found out the truth that he was definitely beaten and he had blunt force trauma to the back of his head before he was hung. I also let you know that Kyren Lacy, who was blamed in a report of a homicide of a man who lost his life in a collision, in a head-on collision. They tried to say that he was the person who caused the accident when he was 2-3 cars behind everybody, and clearly in the video footage he just passed by the accident that had already occurred. But yeah, that's everything I went over today. You know what I'm saying? Quick little recap, episode 312. So for the Kons final and closing thoughts, you know what I'm saying? I ain't got too much to say on these topics, you feel me? I said a lot yesterday on these topics, and this is take 2, like I said, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna try to remember everything I said on these topics, you know what I'm saying? So Netflix, you know what I mean? Netflix took a $25 billion loss in subscribers, you know what I mean, due to the Elon Musk and what he said about this cartoon. I mean, I guess they canceled it from what I was reading. They canceled it a while ago or whatnot, but they still have been pushing homosexuality on children, you know what I'm saying? And that's something I can't really agree with, you know what I mean? I don't mind homosexuality, you know what I'm saying? If that's what you do, to each his own, you know what I'm saying? To each his own, you know? But as a heterosexual male, you know what I mean? I don't want to be subjected, you feel me, to homosexuality scenes in every single show that I watch on TV. If I'm watching TV, you know what I'm saying, it's a 99.9% chance that you are going to come across something visual that is homosexual, you know what I mean? And I have to agree with them pushing it onto children, you know what I'm saying? Because what you're pushing it on the children with such a young mind, a mind that is still in development, that is still learning, that is still comprehending things, you know what I'm saying? You put that onto a young mind like that, you've taken the choice away, you feel me? You are taking them to have a choice away by force feeding them homosexuality imagery and scenes in front of their faces in their little programs that they like to watch as kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, what sparked this off, you know what I mean? I said I was going to do an episode, you know what I'm saying, homosexuality in America, you know what I mean? I think it's time to definitely put that episode out now, you know what I mean? Because I think it's definitely time to talk about it, you know what I'm saying? Because they definitely are forcing the scenery and visuals on the children, you know what I mean? And I'd definitely have to just disagree with that. I can't agree with that, you know what I'm saying? Because you force feeding it, you know what I'm saying? It's no longer a choice, you know what I mean? I get trying to make it a normal thing, trying to make people normalize it, you know what I'm saying, and make people not be so I guess intimidated or whatnot, whatever the word may be, you know what I mean? Not so much hate towards, you know what I'm saying, the community, the LBGQ community, you know what I'm saying? I get it, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you shouldn't have to force feed it down everyone's throat, you know what I'm saying? You are force feeding it, putting it in every program, every commercial, every sitcom, every cartoon, kids programs, movies, video games, it's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? What sparked it off was watching the Buzz Lightyear origin story, you know what I mean? And they had a whole lesbian couple, you know what I'm saying, that had a baby and everything, you know what I mean? I just feel like these are toys, you know what I'm saying? A lesbian couple that had a whole child should not be part of a Buzz Lightyear origin story, you know what I'm saying? We are talking about a toy who fights galactic crime, you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't understand the reasoning for putting that in there, you know what I'm saying? But that's exactly what I am talking about, you know what I mean? It's just pointless scenes that they just put in these movies and put in these shows for seemingly nothing, you know what I mean? Diddy got 4 years, you know what I'm saying? Diddy got 4 years dropped on him, you feel me? That don't surprise me. The judge wasn't with Diddy none of this time, none of the trial, you know what I'm saying? Everything that's been going on, the judge been denying every notion, every want a bail, every time he put out money, you know what I'm saying? Putting out, he said he'll get a judge $50 million. The judge was denying everything, was denying all of that, you know what I'm saying? So Don't surprise me that he got the gavel dropped on him for 50 months. You know what I'm saying? For 4 years, you feel me? But they gonna definitely give him the 14 months time served. Some people say that's not enough. You know what I'm saying? Some people say that's it. That's all he got. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I figured and knew that they was definitely gonna drop the gavel. He was definitely gonna get some more time. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, the judge wasn't messing with him on nothing that he had to do or say. No motion, anything he wanted, the judge was definitely denying him of everything. You know what I'm saying? So this don't surprise me at all. You know what I mean? The judge was definitely taking it personal. You know what I'm saying? I definitely feel like the judge either knew somebody that had been abused or was close to someone that had something, because he seemed like he just wasn't playing with Diddy at none of this trial. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't showing no empathy. He wasn't budging off the videos that they were showing them, kids crying and all this and that. He wasn't budging on none of that. You know what I mean? So yeah, he definitely probably knows somebody or definitely was close to someone who been through that. That's what it seems like. You know what I mean? Trey Reed was the black person found hung. Shout out to Colin Kaepernick, you know what I'm saying, for putting that together. You feel me? Because who knows what they would have got away with if it wasn't for Colin Kaepernick funding a whole another autopsy. You know what I'm saying? Because originally they told us that it was suicide. You feel me? Now as a black man, you know what I'm saying, we're not going to go and hang ourselves from a tree. We're just not going to do that as black people. It's just not in us. It's not in our DNA. You know what I'm saying? And I can tell they trying to slowly ease back in this race card on America. You know what I'm saying? By doing this this is two people on my topic list who were black kids who was treated unfairly out here. You know what I mean? They tried to not justify the kid's death and being hung from a tree and they're going to rule it no foul play. What if Colin Kaepernick didn't get wind of this? You know what I'm saying? We would have all been lost and been told that there was no foul play involved, and they tried to convince the world that a black man took himself out by hanging himself. You know what I'm saying? They tried to really convince us of that. You know what I mean? Told us that. Lied about the report. You know that report came back and it was blunt trauma to the back of the head. You know you seen that. You know you seen it was bruises all over the body in the examination. Somebody covered something up. There's no way that you do an autopsy and you don't come across that in the examination if the boy's body was full of bruises and he had blunt force trauma to the back of the head. How do you miss that? You know what I'm saying? There's no way. You definitely seen that, and you definitely decided to cover it up, and you definitely decided to lie to the public. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Colin Kaepernick, for definitely bringing the truth out in that situation. You know what I mean? That's what's up. Colin Kaepernick still out here doing his activist duties, you know what I mean? Trying to ride for us black folk, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause we don't want to go back to 2020. We don't want to go back to that whole era of seeing these Caucasian police slaughtering us African-American men, going viral on these Facebook videos, reels, whatever the case may be. We don't want to go back to that. You know what I'm saying? You seen what happened the first time we set a bunch of stuff and had everybody confused. You know what I mean? Had people protesting our protests. You know what I'm saying? People was taking the word black. Now, I don't agree with the organization. You know what I mean? I don't agree with the organization as far as Black Lives Matter, BLM. I don't agree with their personal movement of how they move. You feel me? It's ran by 3 lesbian women. You know, these women don't believe that a man should be in the house. And some more extreme, you can look that up, you know what I'm saying? They real extreme, you feel me? So I don't really agree with a lot of their views, but I definitely agree with the movement. You know what I mean? I agree with the words itself. You know what I'm saying? Black lives matter, you feel me? And a lot of people was confused. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of people confused by those words. People started a whole protest against our protests. Like, it just didn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? All lives matter. You feel me? That's not what we were saying. We wasn't saying nobody else's life mattered. We were just trying to let the world know that, God damn it, our lives motherfucking matter. You motherfuckers killing us on camera like it ain't nothing. We getting pulled over for speeding or pulled over for whatever and getting guns drawn and our brains blow out. You feel me? And on camera, on body cam, and then we watching the police who did it get off and go to jail and collect a check every 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? After the fact, you feel me? So we wasn't trying to say that don't nobody life matter but ours. You know what I'm saying? That definitely wasn't the point of the movement. You know what I'm saying? We was just trying to let the world know that, God damn it, our lives matter too. Y'all out here slaughtering us. You feel me? So we matter some. God damn it. You know what I'm saying? That's what we were saying. You feel me? So the fact that there's probably started by a white person, I'm going to assume, you know what I'm saying, that no, all lives Lives Matter. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just a protest against our protests. Like, it just didn't make any sense. You know what I mean? But I'm ranting off. You know what I'm saying? So Kyren Lacy, you know what I mean, was involved in that false report. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Colin Kaepernick though for the Trey Reed situation. You know what I mean? Put some light on there. Kyren Lacy was involved in a false report. This is another black man that they lied to us about. They lied on him, put all the charges on him, put the homicide on him and everything. You know what I mean? When the video footage came out, he wasn't even nowhere near the cars. As y'all seen in the footage, you know what I'm saying? The news coverage, he wasn't even nowhere near it. He was just passing by. You know what I'm saying? It was 2-3 cars behind. And they tried to put all the blame on him. You know what I'm saying? Put a homicide on him, put the body on him and everything. That it was his fault that the dude collided and lost his life. They trying to blame it on the only black man that was probably at the scene. Now happened to be passing by in a bright green Charger. You know what I'm saying? Passed by the scene clearly in the footage. But they tried to blame it all on him. It's just foul. It's foul to see. It's annoying. You know what I mean? As you can tell and see in my voice, it is annoying. I hate to see it. You know what I'm saying? It's 2025 and we still gotta go through hardcore racism like that, treated unfairly. This dude put a gun to his head. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what was going through his mind? He was an LSU star. You feel me? Football star on his way to the pros and ended his own life probably because of this bullshit that was put on him, and he had nothing to do with it, and he knew he was innocent, and they tried to say everything was his fault. You know what I mean? So we definitely ain't trying to go back to that. We ain't trying to go back to 2020 how it was. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure the world don't want us to go back to that time either. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully we can be cool out here. You know what I mean? Hopefully we're not going that route again. You know what I'm saying? But that's everything I have for today. You know what I'm saying? That's everything I have for episode 312. You know what I mean? Episode 312. You know what I'm saying? I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. This episode was supposed to be out yesterday, but like I said, a bunch of technical difficulties. It wouldn't, the file wasn't right. The file was corrupted. So, you know what I'm saying? It was all bad. But I got y'all covered today, though. Definitely get them words in. Black Lives Matter. I went off on that. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. No, thank you for watching. You know what I'm saying? You could have been doing anything you wanted to do, no matter who you was in the world. You know what I mean? You could have been a little brother, or older sister. You know what I'm saying? You could have been a younger sister. You know what I mean? You could have been a niece, a nephew. You know what I mean? You could have been an auntie, uncle, grandpa, a mother, a father. You know what I mean? You could have been cousin Pookie, cousin Nookie, cousin Nunu, cousin TT. Could have been cousin Man, cousin Pete. You know what I'm saying? If y'all got pets that's sitting there, whether your pet could be a cat, you have a pet dog, a pet goldfish, you have a pet hedgehog, a squirrel, you have a pet iguana, a pet bearded dragon. You know what I'm saying? You can have ant farm. You know what I'm saying? Whoever your pet is, you feel me? If they watching Kons podcast right along with you, I definitely with them. You know what I mean? Like you see the homie scrolling up the screen, giving you that good salute. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, thank y'all for tuning in on this fine Tuesday, October 7th. You know what I mean? I hope y'all have a good Tuesday. I hope y'all have a good rest of the week. You know what I mean? The beat you hear creeping up in the background was made by none other than Infectious. You feel me? Just like the beat you heard when this episode came on. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. You know what I'm saying? Enjoy these credits and enjoy this beat in the background. You know what I mean? See y'all next episode.
You hate me, don't you? You hate me, don't you?
happening? What's happening? What's happening? I'm saying this Kons podcast being erupting this episode. You feel me? For you to hit that subscribe. Yo, excuse me. Pardon me. Oh, y'all can see me live. Yeah, hope you enjoyed that last clip. You know what I mean? Hope you enjoyed that last clip. So now is a good, perfect time in the middle of this episode for you to hit that subscribe.
That they don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that?